It is Grimlock, leader of the Dinobots. And this one is the Masterpiece version, but it's a knockoff and oversized. So yes, this is a huge version of the Masterpiece Grimlock, which came out years and years ago. So many years ago. Lots of years ago. But this one is also the stainless steel finish one. So he's shinier. He's just has this shine to him because he's shinier. I said that. But he's a very cool toy, and I would like to thank the Tomy Park store for sending this to me so I could review it for you. And as I mentioned, it's oversized, and just to show you how oversized it is, this is the original Masterpiece Grimlock. And yeah, there's a little bit of a height difference. So we're gonna go through this bit by bit and have fun along the way. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'm Captain Kyle, welcome aboard. If you've been watching for a while, thanks so much for coming back. That's very cool of you. And yeah, through the grace of Tomy Park, we shall have fun with an oversized Masterpiece Grimlock. Be right back. So I'm gonna put the original aside for a moment so we can take a look at this very large one. Now, all the posability is the same, the mold is the same, the transformation is the same, everything's the same, only this guy is huge. Now, if you're not that familiar with the Masterpiece Grimlock, first of all, the original has batteries that go into his shoulder, and you press a button and the sword or the gun, whichever happens to be in his right hand, lights up. Unfortunately, I don't think I have any working button cell batteries. I tried to put some in here, but I think they might be dead, so I can't demonstrate that. I'm not sure, cannot guarantee that the electronics work. But to be honest, when you have something like light up electronics in a toy, how often do you use it? How often do you press that button? A couple times, and then it goes on the shelf and it sits there, and then the batteries corrode. In the case of button cell batteries, they can actually explode. I've seen it happen. So I'm not that concerned about the lack of lighting. But by all means, feel free, if you get this, to put in batteries and give it a shot. He comes with his sword. He comes with his gun. Unlike the toy, he does not come with the missile launcher and missile. He also does come with a crown, so he could be King Grimlock. And I think it goes on this way. Now, the problem with the crown is, and this was the same thing with the original, very sharp points. So it goes onto his head, might actually be this way, but be careful when you're trying to push it down into place because yeah, it can definitely mess up your fingers. So there he is crowned. Now there's two things that refers to. One, in Transformers the movie, me Grimlock no kisser, me king. It kind of refers to that, but it also refers to, in the comic book, he actually wore a crown as High Sky, leader of the Autobots. So after Optimus Prime had a really bad session on a video game, Grimlock took over and he wore a crown. You know, I guess that kind of makes sense. He wasn't elected. Yeah, so he considered himself the king. The original also came with a crown. I'm not sure where it is. I'm sure it's around somewhere. But I'm going to take that off and put it aside because it's going to interfere with some transformation stuff. But I do want to show a few more features. Now, obviously, the light up feature is not working at this time, but if you look at his eyes, he does have a switch in the back that can change his eyes to red and back to blue. So blue was the color of his eyes as an Autobot in the cartoon. Red was the color of his eyes as a toy. So again, it was a nod to the toy, and they gave a nice little switch so you could switch back and forth. Again, red eyes, you know, and I think they have stuff for that. Some kind of Visine gets the red out, or push down the thing in the back of his head, which is right here, and he'd have blue eyes once again. Isn't that right, Sky? So Sky has decided to join us because she's a big Grimlock fan. So I'm going to put him on the turntable of doom so you can see him from all angles. Now, even though his robot eyes change color, his dino eyes are permanently blue. You can see it in the back there. And you can see, unlike the original G1 toy, he doesn't have a hinge here with the tail hanging off. Transforms a little bit more complex, but oddly enough, not that much more. There are some differences in the transformation, but honestly, the way Grimlock is in robot mode and dino mode, you can't really have him transform too many ways. Even the automatically transforming one, I think, transforms very similarly. So to have him look like this in robot mode and have his dino mode, he definitely needs to have a similar transformation. I mean, there's the classics and there's other versions of Grimlock that transform differently, but they don't quite look the same as G1 in robot mode. All right, so another spin. You can see that he does have an Autobot symbol on his chest. It's slightly misaligned. I'm not sure what happened there, and I could probably spend the time trying to get it back into place. I'll see if there's an easy way to do that during this video, but if not, I'm sure I could manage it some other time. On the original, obviously he has an Autobot symbol in the same place on his chest, but otherwise, all the deco is pretty much identical. So let's take these weapons out of his hands. Let's go over some posability. Again, for those who are not familiar with the original, it does have the same posability, but we're just gonna go over everything. Isn't that right, Sky? So I'm gonna slide aside the Turntable of Doom, and the first thing I always like to see is, can he do a full toes-up Jean-Claude Van Damme? And I believe that he can. There he is, full toes-up Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, because of the thickness in the back of his calves, I guess, his calves being so thick, you know, he doesn't go all the way to the ground with crotch, but that's, you know, still, he's going 180 degrees straight across with this Jean-Claude Van Damme. But let's put his legs back. Now, he has a little bit, very little bit of a reverse ankle swivel. This has more to do for the transformation, so he doesn't really have a real ankle swivel, but you can put him in a wide pose and he's fine. Can he kick forward? Yes, he can, pretty dang high. Can he kick back? Not quite as high because he runs into the wings, but pretty good. Side kick, yes. In fact, he can do pretty much a full split side kick. He also can bend at the knee, and it's actually kind of a little bit more than 90 degrees, but that is because this piece here on the back of his leg can kind of shift to the side. If it is fully in place, then he's just about 90 degrees. But yeah, if that part shifts to the side, then you can go a little bit more than 90 degrees. Can he twist at the waist? That's a good question. He can twist from side to side. He can't twist all the way around because he's got this piece on his back here that interferes, so he can turn a little bit to either side, which is more than the original could do, but not going all the way. Now, his arms, he doesn't really have a thing where he can bow. His arms can technically go all the way around, but the problem is his wings. So you kind of have to move his arms out a little to the side to kind of sneak them by the wings to get them to go all the way around. His arms can go out to the side somewhat, a little bit, just not a ton, but still it enables him to point off in different directions. He does have an elbow, bends at the elbow very nicely. Oh, back to the legs real quick. He does swivel all the way around. Same thing with the arms, he does swivel. Now, it's not quite all the way around. And I want to check the original to see if the original seems to, and maybe it's just a little stiff, there we go. So just like the original, he can swivel in either direction, but it stops at this point with the screw sides out. So you can't go all the way around, but he goes good amount around on that arm. I want to check out the other arm, and there are reasons. The other arm is set up the same way. So again, it stops in that one spot. So it does swivel. You can swivel nicely, but not all the way around continuously. His fists here, they do twist, both of them. Now, the interesting thing is he does have a thumb that you can move on his right fist, but you cannot actually open up his fist. His left fist does have not only the thumb, but fingers that can open and close somewhat. Not a great deal, not all the way out, but he can close and open his hand a bit. Now, I think the reason for that is because of the electronics that are not working that press this button, because there's a light inside his hand, so therefore his right hand is not as posable as his left. And his head here can pretty much go all the way around. You might have to tilt it to get it past some stuff in the back. He can actually look up. He can wiggle a little bit, but it's pretty much up and side to side. And again, if you swivel it up, you can get it to go all the way around. He can almost look straight up, so like when he's flying, he can actually look ahead. Because the Dinobots had the ability to fly because their Dino modes obviously were not meant for high speed going over the ground. So in order to get them to the battles, they could fly. I believe they could fly. I believe they could touch the sky. See, and I'm touching sky right now. There we go. So good amount of posability, the same exact posability as the original. Now height-wise, from head to toe, he's about, I should just have maybe 12.5 inches, something along those lines. If we put him next to the original, which I just knocked skin out of hand, whoopsie. The original is about 9.5 inches, so a good amount of extra height on this guy. I like it. All right, so a fine figure. He feels very sturdy. I believe there's some die cast here in the hips, just like on the original. I don't think there's additional die cast, but what was die cast in the original is die cast in this one. Now, normally I don't show the transformation, but I'm gonna show this one so you can hopefully appreciate this figure even more. So one thing you want to do with the fists is you want to have them facing up and down and put the thumb on the top. And then here, you open up these flaps on the inside and you tuck them in. Now, you want to make sure that it is perfectly straight, or else you might have a little difficulty getting it in there and closing it up. So the next thing that you want to do is with his legs. You want to move them to the side and bend them down, but not quite all the way. There are some other things you need to do with his legs, and if you have them all the way together, it can cause some issues. Now you want to make sure his legs are straight to the sides. And as you noticed, I kind of maneuvered this accidentally out of place, but that's the next step, so it's no big deal because this part comes down just like the original, and now that I've moved the legs in that way, I should have enough clearance to pop down there. Like I said, very similar to the original G1 as far as the transformation is concerned. Now that I have that, I can take these wings and close them most of the way. Don't want to close it all the way. You want to bring those forward, and then you want to flip up the head. And I realize you're probably not seeing the head, but you want to flip it up like so. And then once the head is in place, you can close this up entirely. And I'm going to move his legs forward. Now, when you put it together, there are pieces of the upper chest that actually stick through on the sides to lock that into place. We're pretty close to done. You can already see the dino mode, but now we got to work on the legs. So with the legs, you can turn it out a little bit so that you can flip this piece here open, and then you want to pop this piece off. It's kind of hard when I'm showing you this way, so that you can basically maneuver his legs like that. Then continue the twist so the leg is actually facing the opposite direction. But then you're going to take this whole leg assembly and flip it in like so. Now you may have to adjust these legs as you're doing it because trying to show you at the same time as making this a little more complex. Now there's also a tip of his tail, which is inside here. I haven't set up my area to actually show transformations yet. I'm actually setting that up in a different room of the house, but bye, Sky. So that is one side pretty much done. Same thing over here. You want to, and again, it's kind of easier if you flip it up so that you can flip that aside. And then this part again comes out. This tail is a little loose. I have to say, receiving it, there was a little bit of looseness, probably because of the mold being used a bit much. Complete the twist, flip it around. And again, you want to make sure that the leg is now straight. And at this point, you can take his rear. This does not look good for him. You want to kind of push in on this top part of the legs to push the top part of the legs together. But this tail piece, when you move it into place, you have these flaps here and they have a little notch that go underneath. So you want to make sure that that's lined up before you really squeeze everything together. Then squeeze. Now these pieces here can move up a little bit, and that is fine. Squeeze the entire mechanism together. These pieces that you had flipped out kind of go on the back of his chest piece, kind of stay in place there. In some of the later Masterpiece designs are a little bit easier, but there you go in his dino mode. I'm not going to show you transforming him back. Now there is a mechanism, and I don't think it is working in this one, where you're supposed to be able to like move the tail and it moves the head. Again, one of those gimmicks I don't really care about, but there you have Grimlock. You might want to pose his front legs a bit, his talons here, which are quite sharp. I'm not sure if I have the pretty sharp on that one too. I think I don't necessarily have the US model for the original because the US model is probably not as sharp, but there he is in all his dino glory. Now I don't recall, see this comes without a box, so it does not have the instructions, and I don't know where the instructions for my original are. I don't think there is a way to actually store the weapons in his dino mode, which is a shame, but what can you do? Now, my original, the tail gimmick does not seem to be working all that well either. I know the gimmick was part of it, but again, not a big deal. Now, his mouth does open, his head does turn. He's got a little pin in there, so on this one I have to push it down a little bit. I think it's probably supposed to be connected to the pin back here. But again, you can turn his head, you can move his forearms, you can pose his legs a little bit, you can move his claws, and basically, he's just a shinier version of this one. This one is more gray, this one is more like shiny silver. But I am not even sure what original Masterpiece Grimlocks go for. But this one from head to feet is about 12 inches. If you go from snout to tail, it's more like 16 inches. Whereas the original snout to tail is like 12 and a quarter. Head to foot is like 9. So again, in proportion. Yeah, I do like the deco on this. Could care less about the head twisting function, that it's not working. Again, one of those gimmicks Hasbro puts into a lot of their toys that you'll notice that a lot of the Age of the Prime and the Legacy stuff that were new versions of toys that had gimmicks don't have those gimmicks anymore because no one really uses them. And they're sometimes a pain in the butt or the ass. Now his claws are individually articulated, which is also the case on the originals. And so there you have it, a very shiny, very cool looking Grimlock. And you can have the tail down or not, so you can swing it. Me, Grimlock, happy to be spinning. Hoo-hoo, fun! Me, Grimlock, get dizzy now. Might puke up Energon. And the tail, though it does not activate the mechanism, you can twist it from side to side. And just the same as his arms could move a little bit, you can move these legs and change it like on its hips. But he's cool. I like it. And for those who wanted to see some transformations, there's a transformation for you. Again, I'm working on putting together a setup, and unfortunately, due to time constraints right now, I haven't been able to really do even as many regular reviews, forget about transformation videos. But starting in October and throughout the winter, my time will be much better, and you'll be able to get a bunch more stuff. So there you have it, the oversized Masterpiece KO knockoff, for those who don't know, of Grimlock, King Grimlock. Yeah. And again, thanks to Tommy Park Store for sending this to me. And there's a link in the description so you can get this guy if you so choose. And I think he's definitely a fun, oversized figure. And if you are having fun, by all means, feel free to subscribe to this channel. That would be very awesome. And while you're mulling over this very, very intimidating Dinobot, you can actually check out this video over here where I go over the Special Generations comic book version of Grimlock. That's where the crown comes from, as I mentioned. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.